Do you ever look at a huge problem and feel helpless? Is it better to do a little bit of good, or wait until you can solve everything at once? Silas walked along the rocky shore at dawn. The tide had gone out, leaving thousands of starfish stranded on the sand. As the sun rose, the air grew hot. The starfish were drying out, and their bright orange bodies were turning brittle. Silas sighed and his shoulders slumped. He had spent his life trying to fix big problems. Here, the size of the situation felt overwhelming. He picked up one starfish and tossed it back into the deep water. Then he picked up another. Then a third. A man named Rhett walked toward him from the pier. Rhett stopped with his arms crossed and watched Silas with a frown. "What are you doing?" Rhett asked, pointing to the miles of coastline. "There are thousands of them here. You will never make a difference." "Does it even matter?" Silas paused with his hand over a small starfish. "It matters to this one," he said. He tossed it into the waves. Rhett shook his head and walked away. His boots crunched on the shells. He sat on a piece of driftwood 100 yards down the beach and watched Silas with doubt. For an hour, Rhett stayed there. He checked his watch every few minutes, waiting for Silas to give up. Silas kept working. His back ached and his skin burned from the sun, but he did not stop. He walked further down the shore, moving past the section he had already cleared. As Silas approached the driftwood, he saw that Rhett had stood up. Rhett was not watching anymore. He was kneeling near a tide pool with his hands covered in wet sand. He picked up a starfish, hesitated, and then tossed it as far as he could into the water. He looked at Silas with a neutral expression and moved to the next one. The silence between them was heavy, but the mood had changed. Rhett was no longer arguing that the task was useless. He was simply matching Silas's pace. They did not speak as they worked their way down the coast. By noon, the sun was very hot. Silas reached into his pocket and pulled out a small water bottle. He walked over to where Rhett was struggling to pull a starfish off a dry rock and handed it to him. Rhett took a long drink and nodded once to say thanks. Then he turned back to the sand. They stood side by side in the vast landscape, working until the sun was at its highest point. You cannot fix every broken thing in the world at once. Real change starts when you stop looking at the size of the problem and start acting on the chance in front of you. Small actions, when done over and over, become a force that others eventually decide to join.